Welcome, guys. It's another edition of Libations, and today's one is special. It's special because I think 5, 6 episodes in. This is the first time I'm actually going to be talking to another friend of mine, but this in this instant, the first female guest um,
Wow.
on Libation. So this is a very special moment for me, yeah, and I trust you're going to love this conversation that I'm going to have with this special friend of mine, Ujuaku Akukwe,
Yeah.
filmmaker, storyteller, curator of taste and experience, but most of all, a very beautiful human being. You're welcome to the show.
Thank you. Thank you, Emeka.
My pleasure. My first question is basically, how would you like someone to? How would you like to be described? What drives you, and how would you like to be described? Because I see from your bio, I'll read it for the audiences. You say you're a storyteller, an indigenous storyteller, and I can tell that because you've done some great documentary work, Afia Attack, and what's the other documentary?
Erigi, Harvest of Pride.
Harvest of Pride, yes. And in that documentary, the Afia Attack, which tells the story of the Civil War and
The role of
women
yeah,
during
the
war.
Civil War.
And it spoke to me because my mom was one of those people during the Civil War. They used to call her Nurse Eliza. She was one of those. She wasn't trained as a nurse, but she was sort of deputized during the war to help the sick and wounded. And so the story of these women during the war that went almost as what it is on this mission to provide for their family. It's an incredible.
And for the entire Biafra nation. Yeah.
It's incredible. Well done for that.
Thank you.
So tell me, how would you see yourself? Just storyteller?
There's something you left out. I'm also a cultural expert. So how would I want to be described? First of an indigenous storyteller. So I like telling the stories of my people. So when I say my people, the Igbo people, story of Africa, story of personal stories, family history. So I like people to talk about themselves, talk about their families, and have them documented. So because I believe storytelling is all about humanity, about sharing information, and that's what we do every day. So instead of sitting down and manufacturing stories, you can actually look inwards and find stories about yourself, about your family, about your kids. So you can tell story about you, document them for the future. Tell story about your village, tell story about your town, about Nigeria, about Enugu State, about Anambra State. So that's the kind of thing I love to do.
That's incredible, because I know that sometime last year I was invited by the Center for Memories. They have this monthly event that they call in Katamwi, and I was asked to speak on storytelling in this new digital world. Do you think that Ainwa as Ndibo, that we're doing enough, we're telling enough of these our stories?
No, we've not even scratched the surface. And it can be frustrating because this is a place that have so many stories to tell. So when you look at let me give you an example. So when you look at the Oja, everybody's talking maybe with the Oja piano, like the
piano music,
exactly. So during my TEDx talk, I said that you can actually tell a story about our musical instruments. We have the Oja, we have the Udu, we have the Ogene. And these are not just musical instruments, that's sort of spiritual as well. So there are stories backing them that when you dig deep, you find out those stories and connect them to anything you want to connect them to. So when you look at our folklores, our folk tales, we have so many stories that when you delve into them, you can use it to reimagine other stories that can, address societal ills or values. And you can also reimagine it for a wider audience, for a global audience. So we've not started telling our stories. And that's one thing I think we should start doing.
You talked about, as you were talking, you talked about the Ojapiano, of course, and the Ogene. I was with, I went to see
the Udo, I don't even know.
I went to see
is it the drum?
It's a drum. There's an Ikenga drum. There's
exactly
koro. There's all kinds of. And I was telling this elderly gentleman, and then somebody else had said, "Oh, we can do use Ogene music, I say, I hope you understand that Ogene music is a fighting music. It's a music that moves people. It's not a music. It's not an instrument you play when you want to be calm. When you want to calm people down. Just listening to that thing, your instinct is to get up and do something and go somewhere. It's not. If you listen to Ogene music, it's not music.
It motivates people.
It is fantastically motivational. And to think that, I mean, so we do have the need to tell even what it means, what Ogene means. I completely agree with you that we need more storytellers. Do you think, though, that in Enugu, in Anambra State, in the Southeast, what do you think that is not allowing us to tell those stories?
I think that
I mean, this is the land, this is the region that gave us Chimamanda, Achebe. And so we have storytellers, don't we?
Yeah, we do have storytellers, and these storytellers came from here. But right now, they're not here. They don't have these young ones coming up. They don't have the guidance. And the kind of the society we live in now, they have lots of distractions, and the economy is also not allowing people to delve into their creativity to come up with these stories.
So hunger is the problem, huh?
No, hunger is not. I won't say hunger is the problem, but I would say that people want to, put in effort and sort of have monetary value for that effort. So, and they also need a guide. So if we are telling this story, so somebody will look at Chimamanda and say, oh, she's a beautiful storyteller, but oh, she's not in Nigeria. So it means that whatever story she's telling, she's making money from a wider audience, the international audience. So a young person, I was, having a conversation with a young person the other day, and she said, of course, I can write beautiful books like Chimamanda, but who will buy them? Because I'm here. I said, start first.
Yeah, but didn't Chimamanda...
start first.
Didn't Chimamanda first start here? She started here, isn't it? Obviously.
Yes. Yeah. But the time of Chimamanda and the young people who have the Gen Zs, it's, these guys now want to put in something and get something immediately. And again, in Southeast, when it comes to creativity and storytelling and arts, it's as though people don't see the value yet here. And they think that if you want to make it, you have to leave in Southeast entirely and move to Lagos. I understand why they think that way. So what we're trying to do is to let them know that you can actually stay here and make it here.
Does that speak of not just what you've done with the documentaries and the stories that you're telling using the visual medium and so on, but the fact that you have this platform that you created a few years ago called Eniff, which is the Eastern Nigeria International Film Festival.
Yeah.
How has it been since you started it? What's been like the feedback from people? Are you getting support from government? Are you getting support from corporates? What's it been like?
It's been fantastic. So it's actually Eastern Nigerian Film and Arts Initiative. It's a non-profit organization. So we invest in film and media training in Southeast of Nigeria, grooming young talents to tell authentic African stories. Yeah. It's been okay. I think we need more support from government, from private sector. But one thing we are doing is that we've identified that in this part of the world that we need to create a hub so that can feed into a larger hub, that's the Nigeria creative ecosystem. Because I believe that Nigeria is too dynamic to have just one centralized creative ecosystem. So how about we have
the eastern part,
the western part, the northern, southwest, all coming together, and whatever we are bringing together adds to the GDP of the nation. Yeah. So for Eniff, so Eastern Nigeria International Film Festival is a baby. It's a baby of Eastern Nigerian Film and Arts Initiative. And when we started in 2020, there was nothing like there was no film festival happening in any part of the southeast of Nigeria. So we said, okay, let's bring this home. so that our young people will actually attend film festivals and know how it
The
feels
value
like.
of it.
So what
Yeah.
we do is we give upcoming filmmakers, especially, and it's deliberate, to submit their films to our film festival, and we'll give them a platform to showcase what they have. And we'll also bring facilitators, we organize workshops, master classes, so that they can gain the skill to be able to, I don't want to say compete, no, to be at par
to take their
with
art,
with their counterparts, with their colleagues in different region.
Okay. But I want to ask you, is there something that sort of motivated you? Is there something in your background growing up? I also know you're deeply, vastly traveled person, so you've been all across the world. So is there something from your background, from your childhood, something that sort of motivates you or has motivated you into doing this line of work? Because I hear all the time someone say, "Oh, I went to medical school, but I decided to become a filmmaker, or decided to do this." Do you share that same story, or you just from ab initio as a young girl you said, "I'm going to be telling stories"?
I think as a young girl, I grew up. I had parents, especially my father, that always tell us stories. Stories about my culture, our tradition. Then I'm privileged to have I met my great-grand mother, then my grandmother, and from my maternal side. And they're storytellers in the sense that, anytime we travel to the village, they always tell us stories about our people.
Yeah.
And I'm also privileged to hear stories about my great-grandfather. I didn't meet him, but I learned a lot from those stories. So growing up, storytelling has always been a part of my family.
Yeah.
So having parents that always tell us, okay, no matter where you're going to, remember that so you are from
You're from this particular place.
And not just being from home, you're an Igbo girl then, but now they say, you're an Igbo woman. So that's sort of shaped my career. And also at school, I studied sociology, then studied filmmaking, documentary filmmaking at the New York Film Academy, Los Angeles campus. So that also, like, I'm doing what I feel like I'm doing what I'm destined to do. So from my childhood, it's always been about telling stories, traditional stories, not just any stories, but traditional stories.
So is it, I did promise you, I did warn you rather that I was going to ask you this though. How much of your makeup as a human, do you credit to the cultural side of things or the spiritual side of things? I'm trying to use grammar to disguise this question of spirituality.
Okay.
Yeah. What does it mean to you as an Igbo person? How much value do you place on? Because on this show we often talked about the core concepts of what it means to be Igbo. The Onyaya and Awanea and the philosophy of Igwebike, that we progress in unity, or we make progress as a united persons, and that no one should leave. For those who are non-Igbo who are watching this, Onyaya and Awanea simply means do not leave your brethren behind, and if you're successful, try and bring. How much of that core Igbo spirituality and how much of it does it mean to you? Do you see the role of you've talked about your cultural background, talked about your grandparents, how much of storytellers they were, and how much of that has sort of influenced who you are today. But talk to me about the spiritual side of, because I think as an Igbo person, we are guided by, I believe that every proper Igbo person should be guided by these two core principles of what it means to be Igbo. Igwebike, we stand together for progress, or we come together for progress, and we also genuinely believe in the cause of Oyaya na one there, you know, no one should leave, you know, it's almost like the U.S. Marine motto, no one, leave no one behind, so to speak. So how much of that influence, that core spiritual concept, and what does it mean to you, you know, in this age where the average person, the average African, the average Igbo person with Western influences of religion and still acknowledging the spirituality of being Igbo or tradition. Is there a conflict in you?
Personally, as an Igbo woman and Igbo person, you can't really separate for people that really want to understand the truth. So something, you know, we have facts, we have truth. So it depends on how you're viewing it. So personally, I don't separate our cultural values from our spiritual values. Somehow they are intertwined. Yeah. So for me, growing up, like I refer to my father who is late, but my father, like I've always been a daddy's girl. So I grew up under him. And like in my family, they will tell me, oh, whatever you do, that your father can never see any fault in that. So that's how close.
It's very special. It
exactly.
Reminds me of my Fitch, if you're watching this now. See now.
So I'm an original daddy's girl. And I've never seen my dad go to church. Yeah. So, and not because I'm saying
but that didn't make him less of a human being.
He was a perfect human being. Nobody's perfect, but he was almost perfect, an excellent man. So I never seen him in church, but he always received a word from church. And why? Because of his principles. So when you talk about Igbo values, we're talking about Unyaya and Awaneya, we're talking about Iwebike. And I would like to add integrity, hard work. So we have these values, Ibambo. And when you take it to Imwa here, that is, we're talking about honesty.
Yeah.
We're talking about truth. We're talking about the principle of standing for what is right. Yeah. So these are all embedded in our spirituality. Because when you research about the Igbo spirituality, there are things that people do now that you dare not do in those days. And even now, people that actually adhere to Igbo spirituality, you can't find them cheating, you can't find them stealing, you can't find them, you know, unequal to like an individual, individualism. But you can see that in the Igbo society now, it's all about individual strength.
Don't you think that, I listened to Professor Patu Tommy when he spoke, I think last year as well, early last year, sometime last year, June or July last year, and he talked about how the Igbo society is suffering today because of the fallout from the Civil War, and how we have, you know, we've moved from that consciousness of Oyaya and Awania, Igwebike, and so on. And then because of the trauma of the Civil War, we've sort of like gone back into our shell, and everybody's become more individualistic. So the hustle, we just have to make it. And that has sort of, while the hustle has been primarily an Igbo thing, you know, we hustle, hardworking, but we've sort of forgotten these two other principles, and it's now, you know, the scarcity mentality has sort of, you know, progressed more in our society, and how that reflects poorly on us. You know, but I like where this discussion is going. So for you personally, where do you stand? How much of a Christian church going person are you?
I can't remember the last time I've been in church. So what I do is I connect with my ancestors. So when I say things like this, people go like, what are you talking about? But there's something I tell people. Christianity came into Africa, and that's a very beautiful thing. But I asked them one question. Before Christianity, our forefathers, what were they practicing? So are we going to throw away that and call it barbaric? No. So I've just given you a story about my father. And I came from a generation of powerful men. So my great-grandfather, Yezukoliwan of Nobi, that's Idemili, he was a Dibia. He was a king, and he was a healer. So he was operating on people. I'm talking about in 1920s, 1910, far back as then, he was operating on people. So what was he using? Herbs. So when we talk about our spirituality, it's not what people are talking about now, like Ogwego, like blood money. So in the Igbo spirituality, there's nothing like blood money. In Igbo spirituality, there is nothing like, killing people for wealth, for this or for that. But we still have herbs for healing. We still have our waters for cleansing. We still have the things we do for progress. So instead of killing people for money, you pray and connect with your ancestors to receive progress, to gain, to clear your path.
It's insightful, and I think that I'm grateful in having this conversation with you, because it connects with me also, because I've often said on this show, part of the reason why I'm doing this show is also having conversations with friends and rediscovering my own Igbo-ness, my own Igbo identity, because I think that my background is my father is a retired soldier, so lived in every part of Nigeria. Not really. I can't say that Igbo was my first language. If anything, I would say that my first language was Pidgin, Barracks Pidgin, because that's what and so it's in later years I'm rediscovering all of the sides of my own being, and I'm grateful for having seen someone who shares a similar faith, because we see this thing where I think someone joked, I think it was the late president of Ghana, Jerry Rawlings, said something to the effect that, how to stem corruption in Africa. And he says, it's not by swearing by the Christian or holy books of the formal religions. That if you ask someone to use something like this and swear a piece of wood or iron from his village, a deity, that most people will first they will back out, because the people are more scared. And I've had instances where there's a quarrel, there's a tussle over land, and who owns what land. And, the traditionalists will say, don't worry, just let's go to the land. You make your own, statement that you own the land and swear an oath to the land, to Allah. Not again where, and most people will back out because they know that it's almost as if, I know it's been said in jokes and memes over the social media and places like that, that our gods are less forgiving. It appears to be less forgiving than traditional, Western or other religions. But I think that but there's a conflict, isn't there?
Okay, what's the conflict?
I mean, the fact that you find I see some of that conflict where you find a lot of people in denial.
Absolutely
in denial of that, or they'll tell you, oh, okay, I can be Igbo, I can be Christian, but I can't be spiritual, but I can't recognize. And then they vilify people who, you see it all the time. I've read about it. I've seen pictures where people, Christians will go and break down someone's traditional OB, or break down somebody's traditional, where the person is making his sacrifices and so on.
I'll call that ignorance and brainwashing, when people fear what they don't understand. So when we talk about God, Chukwu, and by the way, we have one God. So whether any name you want to give it, call it Hindu, Christianity, whatever name you give it, you have only one God, which the Igbo spirituality understands, and that is Chukwu Okike Abiyama, the God, the revealer of knowledge. Then we have the Chi, like every Igbo person, every person, not just Igbo person, who believe in the concept of Chi. So it's like it's your spirit guide. And when people tend to ignore this glaring truth, all we have to do is to keep explaining to them. And I understand spirituality and I understand Christianity. I've been one. I've also almost been made a pastor in my former church. And I understand why people shy away from these things because of the level of voodoo. It's not with this Igbo spirituality, it's not about voodoo, it's about connecting to God first and connecting to your ancestors, which Christianity, especially Catholics, they also practice that. Saint Vincent, Saint James,
they also respect
they dead, respect that. So all those saints are their ancestors, the ancestors of the Western
of the Western religion,
or Western church. We have our ancestors from where I come from, my Chukura family, my Naoba, my grandfather, Nzebubezo Koli, my great grandfather. So I respect them. I also acknowledge them. I also call on them. My father, Onyechi Akokalia, he's late now. So they are my ancestors. So there is nothing wrong with the Igbo ancestors or anybody's ancestors. And when people see people that connect to their ancestors as practicing evil, and I'm like, how? So our ancestors, have they done anything bad? Yeah, some of them must have gone the wrong way.
Even just as we live, even the fact that, you must have heard stories, even as modern day Christians, some Christians still commit the most heinous crimes.
Exactly.
In fact, as someone who once said, I don't know, one of those historians, who says, the most evil has been committed by the most religious
exactly.
people. So it is, I think fundamentally, and it's important we're having this conversation, and to those who are watching, you find that, I speak personally for myself, that Igbo cosmology and Igbo spirituality, the little I know of it, speaks of humanity first. Humanity, the person, the individual, the person and his relationship with his family and with his community first, before you even start talking about anything else. It's your humanity. Is your humanity attuned to your family? Is it attuned to your community? Is it attuned to the earth? And if it's that's my understanding so far.
True.
The little I know of it. If it's tuned in that way, then I think that you're on. And I don't see how that, even though I spoke of conflict, but I don't see how that is in itself a bad thing. As you were saying, it's not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing. It's a powerful thing to find yourself in that space where before you do anything, you think about the next person. Even the Bible says, do unto others as you want them to. So it's all about yourself and humanity, your community. It's all about paying attention to things that matter. It's all about this Anna you mentioned, that's a female goddess. It's about respecting the land. So it's not about doing things that wouldn't want another person to do to you. So it's about love, it's about sharing, it's about caring. So for me, that's what Igbo spirituality is all about. So it's not what people make it to be. Then we'll have deities, which in itself is not bad. So when you see the Virgin Mary is no longer alive, but people still go there to do what? To pray, to look for succor, for care. So that's exactly what the Ordinana people, like the Igbo spirituality, that's what they do. So they go to all these things.
That reminds me, we just started a new show, and I think you guys should check it out. It's called Ordinana as well.
Oh, really?
TV. We just started, and we have this young,
fantastic
Igbo spiritual. He comes from the Dibia. It's a very fascinating character. I listened to him one time. I was fascinated by a young guy, but I was fascinated by his depth of thought and reasoning. And so I encourage you guys to check it out on Afia TV. It's coming soon. I think it comes on Sunday afternoon, 5 p.m. But we'll double check, so you can find the link under. We'll put it on the lower part of the screen at the time that the show will. So at this point, we'll take another quick break, and then when we come back, I'm going to delve a bit more personally. Your kids, are you transferring the same thing from your dad gave you to your kids? And what life is, because I know at the time when I call you, I'm in the UK, I'm in America, I'm in this and this. Where do you live, sir?
I live in Abuja, Nigeria.
Okay. You got three beautiful kids, three beautiful girls. Um, and I know they're abroad, aren't they?
Yes.
And in school, you said?
That they're in college.
They're in college. Okay.
Yeah.
Are you concerned, or do you feel that you're giving them the same energy, the same powerful testimony of your cultural and spiritual thing that you inherited from are you concerned that they, being abroad, they've not lost themselves, lost their connection to our, to our spirituality?
I'll say one thing. First thing, as na ago adiamu ngwele.
You guys
So
that.
it means like a lion, a tiger. So I use
Does
tiger.
not give birth to lizard.
Exactly.
So we say it in pidgin, say lion not a bomb baboon. Something like that.
Yes,
but that's
exactly.
But that's
so with my kids,
Yeah.
they understand where I stand. And I'm not the type like, oh, you're in abroad and you don't come home. So no, they come home.
okay.
And there's something I learned from my father. Everybody, all my siblings will all have Igbo names. So, and not just Igbo names, we have strong Igbo names. So you see us, you are not guessing. So it started by, giving them powerful Igbo names and always telling them, not one Igbo, Igbo, just the way, my parents raised me. So for me, it's about showing them.
You're not dictating to them, but they see you and then they
follow.
So
they see me, they understand it. And one thing I love about my kids, and that's how I grew up. I grew up as a very inquisitive person, even till today. People are like, why do you always ask why? Why? Because I say ask why because I want to learn.
That's the best word.
So I'm always like,
you and me share that same thing.
Why?
Someone will do something and I ask them, says, you said it was a beautiful thing. Oh, I did it. I'm like, why? And they go, because when you ask why, if people are not prepared, that's when you find out that.
Exactly. So they always ask you, Mommy, why this? Oh, Mommy, why? So these days, when they see something on the internet about, oh, Mommy, oh, you talked about this, oh, Mommy, this, oh, Mommy, that. So that's the legacy I'm leaving for my kids, to live in a world where nobody can shut them down. It doesn't matter the religion they practice. So it's not about, oh, I'm a Christian, I'm a this or that. It's about, are you a good person?
First of all, are you a good human
being? Are
you
you a good human being?
Yeah.
So how do you relate with the society? How do you relate with people you meet on the way in your path? How are you a respectful person? Yeah. Are you a person of integrity? So that is the values I'm leaving for my beautiful girls.
They're very fortunate girls, very fortunate kids. Honestly, they're very fortunate to have you as a mother.
Thank you.
And it's great. Listening to you, I could tell that you're living it. I have the show is ending, as most beautiful things come to an end, but I'll beg my producers to squeeze in a minute or two. The thing I want to ask as we end this conversation is, you live in Abuja now. A lot of your work you do in the East, a lot of the storytelling you do, you often come to the East. Like, I'm fortunate to grab you here and for us to have this conversation. How do you see the Southeast physically? What's going on? Do you have hope for us? Do you see progress? What do you see?
God help me. You know why I'll say? Because I'm one of those that say things as they are. So sometimes people tell me, oh, you have to be, when you want to talk, just be diplomatic. So how do I see Southeast? First, I would say that the governor of Enugu State right now, like Mr. Pitamba.
Dr. Pitamba, yeah.
Okay, Dr. Pitamba, it's doing his best, and I appreciate what he's doing, especially, to curtail the insecurities going on here. So I will call on everyone to, support him in the work he's doing. So where do I see Southeast in the larger scheme of Nigeria, especially in the creative industry where I play? I would say that whatever that it is that's going on here, it's not funny. And look at Imo State, Anambra, where I'm from, Oka, by the way, Imo, Ebonyi, we are lagging behind. So we have youths that are just wasting away. And there is no collaboration. The leaders don't even understand the power of storytelling, the power of media, or even how to galvanize and harness the skills and talents of these young ones. And the insecurities, the IPOB, the madness going on is appalling and it's sad and it can be so frustrating.
Yeah.
So it's not, I look at here, the first time I came here when we started Eastern Nigeria International Film Festival, and I came here and I'm like, what the hell is going on? I'm sorry for, excuse my language.
This show comes after the watershed.
So what is going on here? All the BS happening here. And I told my co-founder, as Chris Odili, that I'm done. We can be supporting them.
Last year. We had, I think on your thing, the American people were supposed to come and express a lot of doubt because of the insecurity. And
so you can imagine that. And about 3 months ago, they beheaded a staff
security, of the US.
I mean, and these are our partners. So how do you even begin to explain? So when you go to international donors and you want to attract these investments here, and they're telling you your place is not safe. So what do you do? So whatever it is that is going on here, and the people that are actually causing this nonsense here don't even live here. So whatever it is that is going on here, I just want to appeal to everyone. Please, let it stop. Because we are harming ourselves.
Yeah.
And I'm saying this because in the next 3, 4, 5 years, we'll start, shouting about, they're marginalizing us in the film industry. No. Because we are causing this. And people want to come.
This is us that.
But they can't come.
Pretty much the Southeast was almost like ground zero for the creative sector when NTA set up production. You had, Bassi and Company. You had the Village Headmaster production here. You had, I remember my big uncle, Peter, who was head of NTA.
Exactly.
I mean, so there's great things that were happening here, in the late 80s, early 90s. A lot of all the big actors come from this region. But like you said, everybody has, because of this and maybe other things.
Yeah, if you want to come here, you're like, should I come? You're checking the flight, you're checking the hotel, you're going to stay. You are making calls.
Yeah.
You're agitated. Like, I'm coming out today, I'm like, am I safe? So it's not funny. So I want to appeal to everyone. I mean, sheath your sword. It's not, we have to build this community. We have to build the creative ecosystem in Southeast.
And I think the creative industry has a great role to play because it's an all-comers industry. I mean, one movie production, you can have as many as 50, 60 people on it. So everybody can, I mean, someone said, I think I said that many years ago. I used to say, so someone had me to say, we've given 5 million naira loans to people. I'm like, why don't you just shoot 10 films in a particular state and give a budget of, say, 50 million, 100 million? On that production, you train electricians, gaffers, you train cinematographers, you train scriptwriters, you have caterers working, you have carpenters working. So the food chain of one production, you can have like 50, 60 people working on it.
True.
And everybody will earn something.
True.
Some people get some education. The state or the location can be well marketed. You see it on TV. I'm like, I didn't know Ohum Cave can be this beautiful. I didn't know Obunike Cave can be this fantastic. I want to go visit. I want to see it.
Sure.
And I think that's something that enables a lot more people, within the ecosystem and even outside of it to benefit.
True.
From
and like that's what we do. Like, we believe that whatever we're doing here, we believe that training or capacity building without giving young people access to finances.
When is the next Eniff?
November 21 to 25th. But before then, before the November thing, we've been organizing training. We just finished skill acquisition on how to use your smartphone to make films,
content,
and how to reimagine folklores or folk tales to fit a wider audience in Oka. So the next stop is Enugu, Nsukka, Aba, Umahia. So what we are doing is to give them capacity building, then create access, because training
You must
without giving
apologize
people.
that my dogs are barking.
It's okay.
I think there's someone coming. But
So-
it's good. You know, I saw that thing where Governor Soludo was like, "Kendi na Abiadu." But my dogs are possible. But anyway, you're safe. No problem.
Of course, I'm in your house, so I'm safe.
Yeah.
So training people without giving them access to opportunities, giving them platforms or giving them resources to own their own crafts.
Yeah.
It's a waste of opportunity. So that's what we're doing.
Okay.
Train them, then give them access
So
to
we're
opportunities.
gonna end, guys. We're ending soon, so it's gonna be interesting. But just to ask you, a very direct question. We're all gonna go someday. We're all of us. I mean, the only thing we know in life is, I think they said, death and taxes. Have you? When someone remembers you, when someone closes their eyes, how'd you like to be remembered?
A mother.
A mother.
Yeah. When I say mother, like you can
giver of
embed
light.
that exactly, and
teacher.
in the principle of Unyaya na Wanea. So a mother gives and keeps giving, irrespective of the challenges. So what I want to do for Southeast, especially young people, is to give them life. When I mean life, to breathe life into their skills, so they can say, yes, I have something to look back on and stand on my feet.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Ujuaku Akukwe, a mother, a storyteller, a curator of social experiences and cultural experiences, someone who's committed to training, to building people up. Thank you so much for joining me on
Thank you for
Libation
having
today.
me. Appreciate
Shall we?
Yes.
Shall we clean glasses one more time? Yeah. Fantastic. Thank you. And to you guys watching, you can always catch us on the next episode. These are my friends. I'll bring another friend of mine who will join me in sharing my wine, my palm wine, my OG, my cola, and then you guys at home, just cheers. See you next week. Thank you for joining us.